Welcome to the second episode of Olmsted Overheard, the new place for real conversations about what's happening in and around Olmsted Falls, Ohio. I am your host, Mark McCausland. In our first episode, I sat down with a candidate for City Council to kick off this podcast focus on the people shaping Olmsted Falls. We will be continuing with that theme today, but I want to use this intro to talk a little bit more about my vision for this podcast. Looking ahead, I'll be expanding the scope of these conversations with spotlights on local businesses, deep dives into how city processes and procedures actually work, and continued interviews with local politicians, especially as we approach the November election. Right now, I see a real gap in our community when it comes to hearing directly from the people involved in these matters. You can attend council or board meetings, but most residents don't really make that a regular habit. And while Facebook and other social media platforms are active places for discussion, well, they're not the most reliable way to get a full, balanced picture of what's happening. My vision with this podcast is to offer an alternative to help fill that gap, bringing context, clarity, and a space for actual conversation. Today, I am continuing that mission with another interview. I am joined by Holly Neumann, a candidate running for mayor of Olmsted Falls. We'll talk about her background, her vision for the city, and where she stands on some of the key items that residents are talking about. Whether you're already following the mayoral race closely, or you're just starting to tune in, this conversation will give you a clear picture of one candidate's priorities and approach. And this isn't about political talking points, it's more about understanding the person behind the campaign and how their choices could affect life here in our community. Let's get into it. This is Olmsted Overheard. Well, here we are. Welcome for an interview with mayoral candidate Holly Neumann. Holly, welcome to the Olmsted Overheard podcast, my second episode. And I think let's just dive right in. We'll just start with, tell us about yourself.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. So I was born and raised in the community off Fitch Road on Adelt, actually Olmsted Township, but 44138. And currently, obviously, I live in Olmsted Falls. I'm a proud graduate of Olmsted Falls High School, class of 85, and I currently serve on our school board for Olmsted Falls City Schools. I'm in my 12th year on the Board of Education. That would be 3 elected terms. So likely, if you recognize my name and you know me, you might have already voted for me. I've been super involved in the community. You know, I ran for school board 12 years ago because I knew that I just wanted to help out the school. And that was a good way to do it and really understand what we were doing in public education and what we were doing in Olmsted Falls. It's been an honor of a lifetime. And so I decided when I entered my 3rd term that I would not run for a 4th term so I could allow the opportunity for somebody else who wanted to serve to be able to do that. If you keep running and you keep going, people just keep voting for you, which is great. And I appreciate the support. But that's not the whole point of it. The point of it is to allow engagement of everybody. So I was like, I'm not running for a 4th term. I'll let someone else step up and have a good time with it. But I knew I wasn't done. And I thought I'll take a couple years off and I'll do some other stuff in the city. And if I still feel passionate about public service, I'll jump in again at the city level. And then unexpectedly, Mayor Graven decided not to run for re-election. And my husband and I looked at each other and were like, looks like the time is now. I think that it's important for people in a community to have choice. And I'm highly qualified, very willing, and very able. And I wanted to give the community a choice. So here I am today, super excited to be doing this. It was in my plans, like maybe 6, 8 years from now. Not now, but you don't get to choose sometimes. Sometimes
Life finds a way.
Life finds a way.
To quote Jurassic Park.
Yeah. So, you know, I have a history being raised. My parents, we had very strong family values, but second to the family values were community. My father was very involved in the Olmsted Kiwanis Club, which is another just tremendous asset in 44138. And he was president and all that stuff. My mom served on school board for 3 terms when I was growing up. And then she recently, a couple years ago, retired as a township trustee. So it's in my blood. This community is part of who I am. And I'm just super excited to continue to serve it.
Well, I want to unpack the decision to run for mayor a little bit more.
Sure.
You specifically said that you're very qualified for it.
Yes.
I want to know more about that.
Right.
I have to decide who I'm voting for.
Right.
It's part of why I'm doing the podcast. So I want to hear more about that.
Right. Serving on school board has given me a great basis for experience and learning how government works. Sometimes people don't realize that public education, it's government. It's like government. We are governed by Ohio Revised Code, and things that happen at the state affect what we do at the school district. And so that's what we talk about a lot on school board. That's what you learn. Oddly enough, sometimes I think we don't talk enough actually about curriculum. We talk more about policy that sometimes is mandated by the state. We talk about finances a lot. And everything that we do revolves around, can we afford to do this? And how can we afford to do this? And so the school district has a budget of approximately $55 million that myself as a school board member and the other 4 members that I serve with, we're responsible for that money.
Right.
And so we're responsible for how we generate that money, how we spend that money, how we are responsible for that money. I have experience with that. We have about 450 employees, right? And as a board member, we're responsible for that. Certainly we have a superintendent and treasurer that we supervise to manage all of that. But at the end of the day, the buck stops at the board. And so I have experience in human resources and experience in finance. We have 2 labor unions in our school district, and contract negotiations, and the wellness and resiliency of our staff. And
you've been privy to a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it all translates to what do they do at the city, just on a smaller scale. The city budget is somewhere between 10 to 12 million. Right. So it's the same thing, just a little bit smaller scale. 33 full-time employees, 450. Whether you have 1 employee or a million, an employee is super
important. And I love that you're doing these little connections of, well, over here on the school side, it's 450 employees. Over here on the city side, it's less. Budget's this over here, budget over here is less. I love these types of brain connections. My brain's doing them all the time. Right. Another one that I'm thinking about is, okay, so school board is kind of equivalent to city council. Would superintendent be equivalent to mayor?
So actually, school board is more like a mayor than
really?
City Council. Yes, people see the face of the superintendent. Exactly. We hire him. We employ a superintendent to speak on our behalf.
Okay.
But it's really the Board of Education that is making all of the decisions. The superintendent's not making the decisions. The superintendent will make decisions like, do we get a snow day, right?
Sure.
But the superintendent is not making decisions on our revenue stream, our expenditures. We're making that ultimate decision on how do we implement this? What resources do we have to implement? He'll say, here's what we're thinking. Here's, what's happening. And then we plan with the superintendent and the treasurer how we implement all that and policies around that. So it's more like the mayor.
Awesome. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. People wouldn't know that.
Right.
They're like, oh, they're just figureheads and they don't do anything and they don't make any decisions. And in reality, we make more decisions than people realize.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right. So my next question, is there anything else we should unpack about why you ran for mayor?
So people ask me all the time, like, why are you doing this? And what's your agenda and things like that. I have absolutely no agenda. People are like, what the heck is an agenda? You need an agenda, right? I guess my agenda is, what's your mind, right? I've lived here for 23 years as an adult raising my family, and nobody in the city has ever asked me what you like about living in Olmsted Falls, what you not like about living in Olmsted Falls, what are your hopes and dreams for living in Olmsted Falls. Leaning on my experience from school board, we ask those questions all the time. In the 12 years I've been on the board, we've probably conducted for sure 3 surveys of the community. I think we did a 4th. We just finished one. And we ask these questions all the time. And we're constantly engaging with the citizens, with the residents of 44138. The school encompasses Olmsted Township and Olmsted Falls. But we're constantly asking, and we're not just asking the parents.
Right.
We're not just asking parents of kids. We're asking everybody who supports our school, which is senior citizens, middle-aged folks. We're asking our kids. We ask everybody. And that's why I'm running for mayor is I want to know what's on your mind. I want to build greater involvement, greater communication, So we can together figure out what we want to do, where we want to go, how we want to be.
Thank you.
Seems simple, right? It seems simple. Simple conversations, right?
Yeah.
If we just keep talking to each other and have open lines of communication, providing opportunities for people to engage with their city officials, with their city council, with their mayor. It shouldn't be a scary place to go. Some people are City Hall. I don't even, how do you go into City Hall? City Hall is yours. It's not mine. It's everybody's. And so you should walk into City Hall like you walk into the library. Feel that comfortable or,
Right. Yeah. If I were to sum it up, you want to encourage engagement. You want to knock down the barriers to those conversations. Transparency might be a buzzword for that, right?
Yeah. Not saying that the current administration and council are not transparent. That's not it. I think that there could be a little bit more communication. I think that's been a little lacking. People don't know the process of voicing their opinion or
Right.
just talking about what's on your mind.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that maybe city council hasn't communicated effectively enough what's on their mind. And so then that leaves a lot of people wondering, well, why did they do this or why did they do that? And if they would have just explained it
Yes.
out the gate,
Yes.
then people would know.
Mhm.
And listen, don't be afraid to lay out the cons as well. You need the pros and you need the cons. We're thinking of doing this for this reason, and here are the pros and cons with it. Then this way, the community knows exactly what's on their mind. Allow for opportunity for engagement back on that. Say, are we going in the right direction or are we not going in the right direction? But just doing stuff without asking, you're not going to get good results.
Right. Yeah, I know that I can speak to some of that. Like one example that I have is all the discourse around the developments in the community. And this affects both Olmsted Falls and Township. Obviously, the government of Olmsted Falls can only control what's in those borders.
Right.
But I don't think it's going to be a shock to anybody to hear somebody say, man, there's a lot of developments going in Olmsted Falls. I'm kind of tired of it. And that's not just me. There's, I think, a lot of people that have that mindset. I've also heard council people say that, man, there's a lot of developments going in. But then every time there's a development up for approval, it gets approved. And I found myself as a citizen asking those questions about, like, how did that happen when there's all I see is the discourse about people are tired of this. So then why is it happening? And if there was just a simple explanation from council as a whole, mayor, anybody saying, here's all of the things that we had to consider for this. Here are the things that are required of us by law. Here are the things that we have the chance to approve or deny. Here's the case that was presented to us. That can be summarized in a nice, concise way and put out there, and people will feel better about it, even if they're not ultimately happy that there's another development going in.
They'll disagree.
Yes,
That they
right.
want the development to go on, but at least they understand why it's, yes. And I think that has not been communicated effectively enough.
Right.
And we could do a whole podcast just on that.
Yes, I intend to at some point.
And there was methods to why they did what they did and why these developments are going in. They just needed to let everybody know why they were doing it.
Yeah. And also be open to feedback, because
allow feedback. Yes. You can't just say we're doing this.
Right.
No, you have to be like, this is what we think we're doing. Let's get some feedback first. And if it still is, we're still going to do this, at least you've engaged, right?
Right.
At least you've asked. At least there was conversation. It was, a group think tank effort, right? Not just, we're doing this.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
No.
All right. My next question now.
Yes.
Tell me what you think of Olmsted Falls.
I think Olmsted Falls is absolutely just an incredible community that I'm very, very proud of our historical heritage. It's deep. We have a lot of citizens of Olmsted Falls that were born and raised here, that have stayed here. They come back, they raise their families here. They don't leave. And so there's like this incredible amount of togetherness. Like there's history there, and that's amazing. The school just recently conducted their latest survey in February of this year, and there are 3 reasons why people live in Olmsted Falls. The number 1 reason is to live near my family. The second reason is I was born and raised here. And the third reason is because of the schools. So that says something. That says we're doing something right. Even if you don't agree with everything we're doing, we're still doing a lot of things right. And that's exciting. Also, I'm super grateful that we are one of the safest cities in the state of Ohio. And we can thank our safety forces for that. We have incredible safety forces. And it's a partnership, right? It's a partnership with the schools. Recently in 2023, we partnered with both Olmsted Falls and Olmsted Township to increase our student resource officers at every school. Every school now has a resource officer that we didn't have before. And they're not just there to keep the school safe and keep the students and staff safe. They're there to build connections with those kids. So when they get out in the world, when they get out in the community, they're doing the right thing. Yeah. Right? Which makes our community safe. We have great schools. We have amazing schools. And I think all of that makes Olmsted Falls amazing. I mean, we're clean. We have walkable areas. We have a great downtown district here. It's cute. It's adorable. I just had my nephew from Cincinnati last night. 4 little kids under the age of 6. We were up at Grand Pacific Junction on the train. We walked down to the covered bridge. There were people out. It's super nice. Yeah. It makes you feel, they were like, this is so nice. This feels like home.
Right. And I'm not going to exaggerate by saying people literally come here for their wedding pictures.
They do.
That's how nice that little downtown area is. Yeah.
I mean, thank Olmsted for that, a blessed memory. He really did an amazing job with Grand Pacific Junction. And I'm super grateful that it still, is there and is still thriving and active and everything. Yeah. So, yes, all of that. I do think that there are incredible opportunities on the horizon. Incredible opportunities.
If you had to pick 3 items that you think are on people's minds, local issues, relative to Olmsted Falls, what would those 3 be?
It's no secret, this, in my opinion, and it's not a secret. You just have to hop on social media and hang out anywhere in Olmsted Falls, and everywhere I go, you hang out at Drug Mart, you see someone, they're going to talk about all the development going on in Olmsted Falls. They're going to talk about the tax abatement and what was that, and that's not fair. They get a tax abatement and I don't have that. They're going to talk about that, and they're going to talk about how the taxes are so high. Those are the 3 things that consistently everyone's going to talk about. Okay. And we can talk about that. I can tell you all about that. But those aren't the opportunities that I see that Olmsted Falls has. We have opportunities, tremendous opportunities to engage with our residents that we haven't done in the past. And so I think, why don't we have a community survey? Why don't we ask, what are your hopes and dreams for living here and staying here? What is on your mind? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? What would you change? The very questions you're asking me. Right. Let's ask the community in a survey. We're going to get a lot of different responses. Yes. About 50% of, and this is kind of based on the last census, so in 2020, 50% of the community members in Olmsted Falls are middle-aged, between the ages of like 40 and 60. Then we have the bookends, right? We have 25% are 65 and older, and 25% are at the younger age. So we've got a wide mix. I mean, the senior citizens are going to say, I need this, I would like to see this, I would like to see this. And the people with young kids, I'd like to see this. And then the middle-aged folks are going to be like, I'd like to see this, right? But we don't know if we don't ask. And we need to start those conversations. And I think that's an incredible opportunity for Olmsted Falls to know, how do we lead? How do we go from here? If anybody in city council or running for city council or for mayor or anything doesn't talk about that, I think they're missing the point. The point is, together, we're going to figure this out. I'm not going to figure this out for you. You're going to help me figure out for you. I think also that we have incredible opportunities to collaborate, not only with our residents in the community, but also with our neighbors. I think for too long, we've been a little siloed in how we operate. And with regards to Falls and Township? Yeah, I would say primarily, I think that we have opportunities to collaborate with all of our close neighbors, but Olmsted Township is our closest neighbor. Yeah. And they're kind of more than a neighbor. They are. And a lot of people don't actually know where they live, right? And they'll call City Hall and have a problem that they need solved, and City Hall kindly takes their address, and they're like, you live in Olmsted Township, you need to call Olmsted Township.
Right.
I live on Cook Road. Across the street from me, they live Olmsted Township. And so I think about collaborative opportunities between the two of us in terms of revenue stream, finding grants, finding alternative sources of revenue that would improve not only Olmsted Falls, but Olmsted Township. I mean, Olmsted Township kids are hanging out at the splash pad in Olmsted Falls.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Olmsted Falls residents with their animals are hanging out at Olmsted Township Dog Park. Right? Amazing. Both of those amazing things. Gosh, wouldn't it be incredible if we had a joint grant writer to find alternative sources of revenue to do collaborative things in 44138? Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Why are we trying to find grants ourselves? Why are they trying to find grants on ourselves when all of 44138 is using it? I have a lot of hopes and dreams for Olmsted Falls, but collaboration we need to do way more of that. I mean, that's just one example of collaboration. Yeah. I have a lot of ideas about collaboration. People will hear this and they'll be like, well, she wants to merge with Olmsted Township. No, I didn't say that. What I said was, we need to start collaborating more. And who would be against collaborating on finding alternative sources of revenue so we don't tax you more, so we don't put the burden on you? We're working together to find a different way to pay for it, for something that we all want. Let's find out what people want. Let's work together. Let's find a way to get it done that's not on your shoulders, that we found someone else to pay for that. So those are some of the opportunities that I see in Olmsted Falls' future.
Awesome. So you have a lot of hopes and dreams for Olmsted Falls. What I've heard are the opportunities around community engagement, specifically a survey, finding out what's on the citizens' minds so that you have a guiding force behind actions that perhaps you lead or take the charge on in office, right? The other one is collaboration with the township.
Right.
What else? What's another hope or dream or opportunity?
I think that we have tremendous opportunity for business growth and development here. Grand Pacific Junction is amazing, and Gunselman's and the new owners of the wine bar, those are all experienced restaurant business people that are going to do great. And I think that we continue to work on all of that to understand how can we support them best so that they stay and that they want to stay, that we try not to have any blank spaces in the plaza there where Drug Mart is. How do we work with someone to fill that spot? And I think that we have tremendous opportunities there. We also have great opportunities with our parks. I know that Olmsted Township has gotten grant work and worked their new park over off of Usher there. Mm-hmm. They're trying to connect through Olmsted Falls. I might get this wrong, and I apologize if I do, but over at Smokestack Trails behind there's I think about 7 acres green space that has been talked about. How do we connect that? And it just hasn't happened. But again, if we collaborate with Olmsted Township to connect their green space to our green space, we can connect all the way through to the metro. I mean, we do connect to the metro parks, but even more so, how do we collaborate with the metro parks? It costs a lot of money to maintain our parks. How do we collaborate further with the metro parks so we're able to make it even better, right?
Right.
All of those things. I mean, we have so many great assets that are already in place, but then how do we take it to the next level? And I think there's a lot of opportunities for that.
The next question, I want to specifically hone in on what maybe you would consider to be issues facing the town. We talked about what's on other people's minds, and you said that would be the developments, the tax abatements, which I believe have been repealed now.
So they did repeal the tax abatement. However, they have to send it to the state, and the state has to approve it. But if you didn't attend the council meeting or you didn't read the council minutes,
if I wasn't interviewing you right now,
you wouldn't know that. So it's not immediate.
Right.
It's going to take a few months.
Yeah.
That's number one. And number two, all of the current developments that are in play right now, still move forward, even if there's not a shovel in the ground. So the Maple Way development is still going to have the benefits of the tax abatement. And so people are like, well, that's not fair. And why not? Here's the thing. If city council said, change the rules while they're in play, because even though there's not a shovel in the ground, they're far enough along in the project that it's in play.
Yeah, lawsuits.
Right? There's going to be a lawsuit.
Right.
And no lawyer that represents the city that is worth their salt would say you should do that,
No.
because you will lose your lawsuit. As a school board member, the thing that upsets me the most is when we have to spend money, taxpayer money, on frivolous lawsuits.
Yes.
I won't vote for those any day of the week. And so people are upset about the tax abatement, but they have to know, yes, going forward, any development that's not on the books yet, that's gone.
Right.
But we're still in it.
Yes.
So again, these are so complex.
They're complicated, they're nuanced.
They're
yes.
nuanced, and there's no way that you can understand this through a social media post.
Correct. Yeah.
You need engagement.
Right.
And that's where I think we have the greatest opportunity. So that's what I want to say about residential development. I also want to just touch on, you initially asked me, what do you think are on people's minds, right? So the last thing I mentioned was people say we have high taxes and high cost of living. It's expensive to live here, right? And so if you just if you look at your tax bill, right, 60% goes to the school.
Okay.
And what I think that people need to know is that the school is very cognizant of that. We know that your tax dollars are coming to educate the future of our city, that's our future, is our kids. And we're very cognizant of it, and we're very sensitive to it. And in the 12 years I've been on the board, we have thoughtfully planned, and we're thoughtfully planning for the future to be mindful of that. We do a lot of advocacy at the state level. About 35% of the revenue that the school district brings in is from state funding, and the rest is from the taxpayers. We're advocating all the time at the state level to not reduce our funding, because we don't want to come back to you guys. People need to realize that. Sometimes I think sometimes people think, well, everybody's taking my money, and who's taking my money, and why are they taking it? But I am making the decision on how to spend your taxpayer money at this
currently in your role right now.
Currently in my role for the last 12 years, I've been doing that, and we've done an outstanding job to be mindful of spending it wisely and asking for it only when we need it.
So how would that translate into your potential role as mayor?
Exactly. So right now, in this coming election, which people probably don't know about, we have 3 renewal levies on the ballot this coming November: fire, police, and roads. They're renewal levies. So what that means is your taxes won't go up, but we'd like to still keep getting that money as a renewal. If it passes, it won't go away. It'll be what you've always paid, and we appreciate that. There's a lot going on in Columbus, with the state legislature, and a lot of negotiations around very complex tax issues and levies on things that they can manipulate that would translate to a loss of revenue for everyone, for schools, for cities, for townships. So I think in advocacy with our state legislatures to say, hey, don't do that. You can't do that. That's a bad idea. You're going to tank out our budget here, and we can't go back to the taxpayers anymore, right? And so I think advocacy is a big thing. I think finding alternative sources of revenue,
the grants, other things like that,
imperative. A recent calculation, it costs $1 million to improve 1 mile of sidewalk. $1 million. No budget has millions of dollars sitting around for 1 mile of anything.
It costs more than you think.
It costs way more than you think. And we're writing yet another grant to get that work done. Olmsted Falls does write grants. I'm not saying that they don't.
Right.
But again,
that doesn't mean there's not room to do more of that or improve on what's being done. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And speaking of sidewalks, a recent Olmsted Falls sidewalk that we noticed and really appreciated being put in was on Lewis Road.
Yes.
Are you aware of that one?
Yes.
Yeah. So being where we live, we walk either through downtown to get to the parks, or we go up on Lewis Road to go through the Lewis Road entrance to East River Park.
You can do a whole loop.
And we can do the whole loop now on sidewalks. Before, we used to have a huge chunk that we had to do off sidewalk. The only span now that doesn't have a sidewalk is when you're literally crossing the train tracks.
Yeah.
So you can't have a sidewalk there.
Right.
And we really appreciate that. And that was something that, when we first moved here, we bemoaned the fact that it wasn't there.
It's incredible. What an amazing improvement.
And so small, right?
Right.
Relatively speaking, it's very small. We didn't even know it was happening. One day we drove by there and we saw the sidewalk and we were grateful for it. We complained that it wasn't there. We didn't do anything about it. But you know what I mean? Like this is just the day in the life of a normal citizen, and it's a small thing, but it made a big difference for us.
Listen to what you just said. We didn't know about it.
Yes.
We should have known about it. They should have been screaming from the rooftop.
Celebrating it.
Celebrating it. Look what we've done. Look what we're doing to improve your city.
Yeah.
Right? To improve your connectivity from the Village Green to the park down to 40-year Park to East River Park.
Yep.
And the loop all the way around. That should have been celebrated. Is there an opportunity to collaborate with Olmsted Township for a communications director, right?
Which we don't have, to my knowledge.
We don't have a community. I don't know. I don't believe they do. I know we don't. Like a communications director for 44138 that just promotes and talks about everything in 44138.
Yeah.
So I currently serve with Mr. Bob Perez on the school board, and he's actually running for a seat for Olmsted Township
Trustee. I saw that, yeah.
And I'll be perfectly honest with you, we talk all the time about our hopes and dreams. Full disclosure, I am stealing hopes and dreams from Olmsted Falls City School District.
That's okay.
We talk about that all the time. So Dr. Lloyd will listen to this and be like, you stole it from us. I'm like, because it's worth stealing. Every good idea is stolen from somebody else.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But Mr. Perez and I talk all the time about things like this. How can we collaborate? Communication, promotion, reaching out, like so people know what's going on.
Yeah. All right. My last question.
When I first got on school board 12 years ago, people would come up to me. They're like, how's it like being a politician? How's your political career going? I said, what are you talking about? They're like, your school board. I go, I'm not a politician. I'm a school board member. I'm just on school board helping out the school. I'm not a politician. And that's how I feel about what I'm doing now. Politics doesn't matter. Doing this from my heart because I see so much incredible opportunities for Olmsted Falls. They're already there. We already know. We already have data that suggests that people like living here. They stay here. They come back here to raise their families. They like being here. We could even be so much more. As long as we just ask. And if we all have our hearts in the right place, then that's what's going to happen. I'm not doing this because I'm a politician. I'm doing this because I care about where I live. I want it to stay and grow in the right way and be the best it can be, right? That's why I'm doing it. It's for no other reason. And sure, you'll see my posts on Facebook and I'll tell you all of my experience and stuff, and people will say bad things and want to talk about things that are probably not relevant. But what you need to know is that it's doing this for the right reasons, doing it for the reasons that you would do anything that you feel passionate about. And that's exciting to me. And that's why I keep going, right? Why I jumped in. I was on vacation when I heard that Mayor Graven was not running. And we just looked at each other. We're like, this is happening. Like
right now, there's only one candidate for mayor.
Yes.
We have to have choice. We have to have choice.
That's the American way. Like you have to have choice. You have to be able to choose your adventure, right? You should choose your adventure.
All right. So I do have two more questions that I wrote down. If you were to specifically list out the three biggest strengths or positives about living in Olmsted Falls, what would they be?
Right. Number one, the school. Our school district is...
And you may or may not be biased, but...
I am biased.
And that's okay.
I can be biased or not, but the data doesn't lie. Right? And we've surveyed the community for years. Our last survey was in 2025, so just this year in February. Every 5 years, we're surveying the community. And oh, by the way, it's like robust survey, so the data doesn't lie. 75% of the people say the school's going in the right direction, the county's going in the right direction, where I live is going in the right direction. 75%.
Oh,
so when I say it's a great place to live and it's because of the schools, the data doesn't lie. Right? So that is humongous. And in particular, we have a lot of families with kiddos that have special needs, that need a little bit of extra love and support and help. And they come here because they know that we've got them covered. Mm-hmm. And so that I'll give a plug out to all of that staff that work with our special kiddos. It's great.
So number one, schools.
Schools. Number two, this is just a great place to live. Why is it a great place to live? Safety. I think we're like the third, based on the last result, the third safest city in the whole state of Ohio.
And we've been number one before.
Right.
So it's,
Like we're in the top tier, right? We're in the top tier.
Which is really incredible when you think about it. There's a lot of cities in Ohio.
There's a lot of cities in Ohio. Listen, we can thank our safety forces, hands down, for that. That the city focuses, that's a priority for the city. Our safety forces are amazing. Again, I go back to what the schools are doing with our resource officers at each school building, building connections with those kids, talking to them about safety habits, about drug education. Don't do that. About, I mean, all that stuff. So when they're out in the community, they are acting like responsible citizens. That's a collaboration right there. That is a community effort. That is the city, the township, and the school working on safety. We had the safety summit in 2023. I was school board president.
What's the safety summit?
We had a safety summit in 2023. We said we need to bring everybody together in a safety summit with all the safety forces of both of the communities. And we need to talk about safety and how can we do it better? How can we continue to do it great? But what can we do differently and better? And what resulted from that was the most amazing collaboration. The city and the township put money, as well as the school, toward the resource officers. A resource officer is an employee and they cost money, and employees, you look at any budget, the largest line item in a budget is salaries and benefits of those employees, right? And so we listened to ideas that the safety forces suggested that we do to keep the schools safer, to keep the community safe. And it was a great opportunity for a tremendous collaboration that resulted in action, and it was great. And I was so proud that I was president at the time. It was incredible. It was just incredible. So again, great place to live. We're safe.
Yep.
We have amazing green spaces, amazing parks. We have spaces to engage with nature. We have a business center, right? I'll call it a business center, but it feels like home, like you want to hang out there.
Yeah.
You want to go get ice cream at Grand Pacific Junction.
As evident by any summer evening. No matter the day.
Night,
yep.
So many people were there, right? On a nebulous Thursday night, right? People are there. We have thoughtful business owners that want to engage with residents, that want to engage in the business community, make it better. We have residents, let's talk about Parks and Rec. Talk about thoughtful, passionate community members volunteering on Parks and Rec, right?
And we don't always know what we're doing, but we try.
But you guys are doing a great job. Like, the music last week was incredible. We danced. It was incredible.
I saw you guys there.
I would be remiss to say that some of the biggest strengths and assets in our community are community organizations. Olmsted Kiwanis, the most incredible asset to our community. They do so much, not just in Olmsted Falls and Olmsted Township. 44138 is a better place because of Olmsted Kiwanis. Also, the scouting troops, all of the scouting troops. I mean, 201 is embarking on their 100th year.
Yeah.
Right? The Boy Scouts, the Cub Scouts, the Girl Scouts, all of the scouting troops are so involved in the community. Our Olmsted Chamber of Commerce is incredible. They're mighty, they're engaged. And I used to serve on the board for that. For 5 years, I represented the school district as a board member on Olmsted Chamber of Commerce. So those are incredible individuals that, are passionate and have their heart in it for the business community here. And they do a great job. And so that's just another strength. I'm missing people, of course, and people are like, you didn't talk about the Garden Club. The Garden Club is amazing. Our Architectural Review Board does a great job making sure that we continue to be thoughtful about when we build stuff, how it looks.
You seem very in tune with all of these things, and that is impressive to me.
Again, I was raised this way, like family first, then community. And you don't just exist in a community. I'll bridge it to raising my own children. Every year they have attended a religious camp and they go for a month and they sleep at this camp. It's in Indianapolis. And before they left every summer for that month, we sat down with them and we said, what are you going to bring to that camp community this summer? You're not just going to show up and exist and say, I'm here, entertain me. No, what are you going to bring to make that community for that month a better place? How are you going to engage? Not how are they going to engage you? How's it going to be a partnership? We have that here We need more of it.
Yes.
We need more people to feel like, yes, I want to engage with you. I'm excited. Let's build that engagement.
Because everybody can bring something.
Yeah.
If you get engaged, everybody, no matter how
Everybody
small,
has something
yes,
to contribute. And so that's how I was raised. That's how my kids are raised. Like, you just don't show up. You actually do it. You get engaged and you make it. You bring it. Yeah. And thinking about, like, can you make a difference? Like, we talked about all this engagement. Like, can I really make a difference? The answer is 100% unequivocally yes. If you think about our national government and our state government and, like, do I have influence there? It's harder to have influence, right? But if you start small, if you start exactly where you live, you start engaging, you're going to make small incremental changes right where you live. You're going to have influence right where you live. And the more people that do that, it creates a sea change. Don't be intimidated like, oh, my opinion doesn't matter. My hopes and dreams don't matter. Your hopes and dreams do matter. And they matter right where you live. You just start there. And, it's just as simple as, like, the national government doesn't dictate when if you don't pick up my garbage, I'm going to be upset, right? But I have influence on your garbage, not what's happening in Washington, right?
Yeah.
We pick up your leaves. So start where you live. And that's where all the hope lies, is right in your own little space of the world. You can make a difference.
I have one last question.
Sure.
A lot of this has been touched on.
Sure.
So if you can sum it up as succinctly as you feel like it. If you pictured Olmsted Falls as the best possible version of itself, take a moment, think about it. What do you see differently about that version relative to today?
I don't have to think about it. More community engagement, more involvement. Sure, I could tell you my hopes and dreams. That's pretty much what you're asking. What are your hopes and dreams for Olmsted Falls? You don't want to hear my hopes and dreams. You want to tell me your hopes and dreams. You have hopes and dreams, and we need to talk about those. We need to talk about what you expect, what you want, what you like, what you don't like. And then together, we'll find the best version. We'll create the best version for us. That's what it's about. It's just that simple.
Holly, thanks so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here. Thank you.
Yeah,
All
thanks.
right.
That's a wrap. Thank you for listening to this episode of Olmsted Overheard. If you enjoy this, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. I will be reaching out to the other mayoral candidate to see if he's interested in joining me for a conversation here, as well as trying to connect with other city council candidates. With the election coming up in November, I am going to try to pack in as many of these interviews and local discussions as I can. So please, stay tuned. I'm Mark McCausland, and this was Olmsted Overheard.